So please give a warm Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living welcome back to Reverend Dr. Barbara Leger.
I am so happy to be here with you. I just feel good here. And it seems that you do too. Yeah. And I met like 4 people in the line today that were here for the very first time, and they said, wow, we're going to come back. This is great. And there's a lot of young people in the community now too. Maybe I didn't notice you before, but I see you now. And I had the joy during the break between the first 2 services to fulfill a 4-year-old's dream. I think he was 4. 5. Dason, 5. God, he's an amazing little boy. And he came up and he was looking at me and he said, I saw you up on the stage. And I said, yeah, have you ever thought of being on the... I'd love to be on the stage too. So I said, well, come on, let's go up on the stage. Now? He said, yeah, come on. His mother looks at me. I said, come on, let's go. And so I became, and Rick and Shemaine were here, thank heavens, because he wanted to touch everything. I said, what part of the stage do you like? He says, well, I like the piano and the guitar. And I understand his last name is Birdsong, so, he's been coded for this. And he's 4, so he doesn't know any reason why not to speak his dream out loud. And it's so fabulous when we hear it. When we hear someone do it, it feels so right, doesn't it? Oh my gosh, I remember, I can't remember what minister it was, but they were using that book, Everything I Learned in Kindergarten. And there's that story in that book that you say to the kids in kindergarten, do you like drawing? Yes, everybody raises their hands. And do you like singing? Yes. And do you like going for walks? Yes. And they like everything. And they haven't learned to say no yet. They haven't learned that, that it's not okay to say, it's my dream to stand on the stage. So guess what? Come back on October 2nd because I'll be speaking again here. And we've already, Rick and Shemaine and I are cooking up something so that Dason's going to be singing with us on the stage on the 2nd. So please come back for his debut because I think, like Jarrett, he's going places. Yeah. I think, Jarrett, you got to go on The Voice. I mean, really, I just see you there. Yeah. And I believe in this revolution that you're talking about, this sonic revolution. And this morning, the last line that I wrote on my talk, which didn't print out, but I'm glad I remembered, was that Teilhard de Chardin said, the next revolution will be spiritual or not at all. So that leaves it in our hands, folks. We are in the midst of a spiritual revolution. I want to thank everybody who's here today who is contributing to this shift in consciousness that is shifting the earth on its axis. Remember when Edgar Cayce said that, sometime around the end of the 1900s or something, I can't remember the date, the earth's going to shift and everybody on its axis. And everybody really thought we were, going to fall off. And, some of us have. We fell out of where we were. I think that's what's happening. I think the earth is shifting on its axis. And I think it's because we are shifting on our axis from a state of being that doesn't create the reality that we choose and that we know is truly ours. So when I say that I believe in peace in my lifetime, it's not like a wishful thought, and I probably am not going to live to 300. So, I'd love to live to 100. I say, boy, I'd like 3 more lives. There's so much I'd love to do still. But, I believe. I see it, and I feel it. I feel that it's right here. It's just like, I don't understand string theory, but if I had time, I really would study it. And I feel like it's right here. It's just right there, and we just have to lean into it and listen for the tone of it. Because there's a tone to peace. My dad used to say, Barbara, it's not what you say, but how you say it. Because I used to have that sarcastic tone in my voice. And I can still get an irritated tone in my voice. And those are not the tones of peace. They're the tones of the signal that peace is called for. So you can't make those tones wrong. They're just here to help us, to remind us that we're off center and to bring ourselves back here, back to the center, literally and figuratively. So if you forget, come on back, because we come here to remember. We come here to remember how to lean in and listen for what we want to experience instead of spending silly, precious time in silly ways, like complaining about what isn't and talking about how I'm not getting it the way I want it, or why don't they, or, how come the meat's so expensive today, or there's too many cars on the road, and teenagers today are buried in their iPhones, and, and it's just not okay, and all that stuff is just wasting our precious time. So I believe that we stand at a crossroads in life. I think I'm going to definitely abandon these today. When I think of the cross, the religious cross, I think of this part is the channel of the life force. This is the truth. This is the constantly givingness of God. This is the infinite presence. This is the thing itself, constantly pouring itself into life. And this part, right here, is how much of it we know how to receive, or how much of it we let ourselves accept. And so right here at the very center, that crossroads between all that there is and all that there can be, we are here, right here, always. So the power for all the possibilities in our life lies in our ability to be awake and present in this moment so that we hear the little bells of the thing that makes us allows us to say yes. And we lean into it. And the more we lean into that, the more we say yes to this infinite knowing, this infinite presence, this power, this beauty, this order, this peace, this love. Every day we have 1,000 opportunities to feel this and to say yes and let it manifest here in our life. So I think that, my life is God's gift to me. Constantly. No matter whether I used it well yesterday or not. No matter whether I was harsh or I forgot or I blamed or I didn't forgive. The flow doesn't stop. It keeps flowing and keeps flowing and keeps flowing. Only I can reach out and say thank you and take it in. And the more I do it in little ways, little tiny ways, with a tone in my voice that is so open to allow the vibration of this infinite presence to be known to me in every sense that I have, that is my spiritual revolution. That's how it works. And as I revolutionize myself from the cranky, irritated, controlling, overbearing mother, all those things that I have been in my life, as I revolutionize myself, I set myself free from the trajectory of that duality. And I get myself into alignment with the trajectory of unity. That is the work. This is the unity. And we are constantly in it. And we come here to remember, to remind each other to hear the crystal clear voice of Shemaine, just crystal clear, like perfect pitch. It's like, it's the kind of voice that takes your breath away. Singing my friend Jack's song, that's a wonderful, wonderful song that you sang this morning. And when you look into the eyes of the practitioners who are here in service, and you know that they are practicing their own spiritual revolution, so that they are learning to love themselves anyway, when we forget and when we fall or we don't allow life to be all that it can be, and we show up again, and we show up again. And we stand here and we let the presence find us. I call it courting the divine. I court the divine. I make the divine welcome. You know, Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, who was one of my teachers and friend, and he says, you know, you don't need to make anything happen. You just make it welcome. And how do we make it welcome? We make it welcome by the quality of our inner space. This inner space is what creates our outer space, individually and collectively. That's the teaching. And coming to feel it and recognize it is the greatest challenge we can have, and the greatest gift we can receive is to find ourselves in peace, in this unity. Because when we find this inner peace instead of inner turmoil, then we can love easily. But if we need to love, like I'm a minister, you know, and I'm supposed to love everyone, and there's just some people, sometimes they're a little harder. They're just a little more demanding, or they want a little something from me that I really... And there was a lot of my life when I knew that I should be loving, I should be kind. I even wanted to be, but I couldn't, and I didn't understand why. I mean, I'm a good student, I'm pretty smart. And I've discovered just in the past 2 years why. This is my gate, my opening to this place of peace was that when I let this be peaceful first, instead of trying to fix somebody, make it happen, complain, hoping that it'll change, control, hoping they'll do it my way, when I eliminate all of that, as my mother would say, kerfuffle, God bless her, then when I remove all those barriers, what do I find? I find this peace. It was here all the time. You know, it's like that pearl of great price. It's like the story of creation, you know, you go looking for it, but oh my God, it was always right here. So that's what I find. I find that when I can go here through conscious choice, I choose not always correctly, I fail. And then I see myself and I forgive myself. That's part of the process. Oh, honey, you forgot. That's all right. Come on, stand up. Let's go again. So inner peace allows me to sense what is my purpose. And my purpose is changing right now, right in this period of time, just in the past, 3 months, 4. And it's the answer to a prayer where I've been saying, what is mine to do? What is next? And I didn't ever want to leave what I was doing in Ukraine. I love it. But something else is calling me. And how it's going to manifest, I'm not entirely sure, but I have a sense it's talking about this flow of life. I have a sense it's about learning how to practice so that I live in peace more, and how to facilitate that with other people that really want to get here. So I'm driving along. I love to drive. I listen to great books, and I sing, and I have conversations with myself. I talk out loud, and I'm driving along, and I'm thinking, okay, so what are you going to talk about on Sunday? I mean, I have a title, but I hadn't really had time to give it thought, because I'm leaving for Ukraine in 3 days, and we have a conference that starts in 5, and several guests coming and a whole itinerary of things to do. I was wishing I could bring Jarrett to sing. So if anybody wants to help me do that, just let us know, because that really would love to happen. And I had this idea, and there's been a nagging thought in the back of my mind for 5 or 6 months going, there's something here that wants your attention, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And as I'm driving, I'm saying, all right, God, show me, what's the key to where I am right now, and what would love do through me right now? And I got this message. We know, it's simple. We know how to have the world work for everyone. We already know it. We don't have to go anywhere and figure it out. We don't have to read any more books. We don't have to do anything. We just have to trust what our heart tells us is so in this unity. We are one with this divine presence. It's pouring itself completely. That's what infinite means. It means all of it, all the time, everywhere, for everyone. And it's constantly doing that. And we stand at this crossroads to receive it. In fact, it's such a symbiotic relationship, which means mutually connected and mutually dependent. I don't like that word so much, but I like the idea of mutually connected. So Spirit gives itself completely to us as it's finding its way and sensing its way into form. It's taking its wholeness, its allness, its complete love, its complete peace, all the possibilities, the pure potential of the whole thing, and it's pouring it through me and through you. And our job in this symbiotic relationship is to say thank you and receive it. And know that it's right here, right now. Ernest Holmes taught us this powerful thing called treatment. And it's not, please let me have this thing that I dream of someday. It's thank you for the gift that has been given that allows me to know that I am perfect, whole, and complete, and therefore all that I seek is already mine. All that I yearn for is already in me. The only thing for me to do is to wake up and feel that and say, yes, thank you, to let it be, to let it flow through me. So this symbiotic relationship is the foundation of this teaching, and it's the foundation of my awareness, and I think we are entering, and have been for probably 25 years, but really we're getting close to this moment as the axis is changing in our lives of an age of awareness, that the awareness is that we are born to thrive. We are born to love. We are born to be happy. We are born to be in peace. We are created from peace itself for the realization of peace. We are created from the abundance of all there is that we might know that abundance. We are created from beauty to be beauty. That's really true. That's the macro and the micro. We're all one thing. And when we believe it, we will have a different world. Because the world that we see when we step outside, anywhere in the world, anywhere, you see conflict, you see struggle, you see people fighting, you see people, killing each other and stepping on each other to get somewhere. So the other half of the nagging little thought that came to me as I was driving is, not only do we know how to have the world work for everyone, we actually know why and how it's not working now. We know why. Because it's based on a model, on a structure, on a platform that is not sustainable. The whole of creation, starting from that moment in the Garden of Eden, where we went to that tree of good and evil, as it's often called, and were kind of tempted and succumbed to something that was then called shameful. And then we started blaming. And this whole duality started, if this is a metaphor, of course, God knows how it really evolved, but there's this perfection. And then when we doubt it, we start believing in the imperfection, and that imperfection develops, just like the idea of unity in our consciousness develops, the idea of duality develops in people who are attached to duality. The whole thing evolves. So from that moment has evolved this history of duality that says there's always war. That says you can't trust your neighbor, they're going to come and take your lawnmower. That says you'd better be better and smarter and richer and thinner and have a bigger house and a fancier car, because that's what tells the world you're okay. And you know, those things don't matter a rat's ass, really. I mean, they're nice. They're nice to enjoy, but we do not need them. If there's anything called need, which I don't believe there is, if there's a correct order, it's this unity, where I never doubt again that I'm okay, where I understand so clearly in the midst of my collapse that there is a presence that's walking through it with me, that no matter how painful something might be, there is some movement in consciousness in me because of it. And as I say yes to whatever is coming, and I allow myself to see it as a gift for my growth, then I don't resist it anymore. And when I don't resist it, it doesn't develop. And you know, Buckminster Fuller says, you know, you can't fight a current reality and be successful. If you want a different reality, create a new one that functions better, and the old one will fall away. It's the same with us. If you don't want to feel whatever limitation you feel, come to the workshop today. I'll help you get really clear about that. But the thing is, you want to stop feeding it. As I said in the earlier service, we all have dragons, right? We all have these challenges, these things we've been battling our whole life. We think we've got it handled, and then we go around outside and there's this flame comes shooting out of this roaring mouth, and it goes, no! Well, what I know is that we hired those dragons. We built the fence. We fed them every day because we believed that we needed to be protected, because we thought that we lived in a world of good and evil, but we do not. The world of good and evil is imploding all around us. Now, our job is not to be scared. Our job is to be faithful. Our job is to know a higher truth and to know that we have been called to this moment, or we would not be alive on this planet today. Every one of us in this room has a piece of this heaven on earth that is doing all that it can to be born. And when we're doing all that we can to realize it and to allow it through, then that's the good life. That's more important than whether or not my car is 12 years old or 2 years old. What matters is my car gets me from here to there, and I love it. And that's enough for me. So the reason the world's not working is that it's based on a system that is not sustainable. Duality will never, ever, ever create harmony. It can't. Its duality in its nature is a battle. And as long as we keep investing in this battle in our mind, in our words, and in our actions, then we are contributing and part of the thing that is imploding. And I, for one, want to extricate myself out of those parts that I still forget and contribute to the thing that I don't believe in anymore. And the only way to do that is to be here more. So it seems like a revolutionary thought to me to realize that it's so simple, because when you understand that the structure that you're working with isn't going to give you the result you want, when you understand that the design is not possible to give you the result that is so clearly being called for in millions of people around the world, what would you do in your house, in your own family, when you realize that the structure of your how you make decisions doesn't work? You would change the structure. And that's what we must do. And we're not going to change it by fighting the one that isn't working, that's just going to suck all of our energy out of us and make me angry. I don't want to do that. So we must feed the thing that we believe in and that we love and that we are committed to being part of. And just don't worry about the other thing. It'll fall away on its own weight. It'll be so hungry it'll leave. We need to stop feeding what doesn't work and start feeding what does. That means in my life, in your life, at our jobs, in our families, in our spiritual community. We've got to learn to ask good questions. What could I do today to be a more loving parent? What could I do today to release some of my fear that I have to whatever, or that I'm not okay if I'm not? What would support me to make that change? That's where we should put our attention. No, let me say that differently. Putting our attention there is so gratifying. Putting our attention on what works is so powerful. It shifts the world on its axis. And we now have a whole new set of eyes, seeing a whole new reality. And don't worry if you think you're crazy. I mean, I really did. I didn't want to be the evangelist for this. I didn't. But I see that I'm putting my feet on that path. This weekend was my test run. So I invite you to ask yourself, what does unity mean to you? Just take 10 seconds, because you know it in your heart. And then answer this question, please. I know I'm living in unity when... And then turn to somebody and tell them your answer. Right now. Go ahead. I know I'm living in unity when. See, that's not so hard, is it? Doesn't that feel good? You're not any crazier than me. It feels so wonderful to feed this possibility. So that's my invitation. Come to the workshop today and learn more. Some simple tools about how to do this. Have a nice lunch. Bring your ideas. Bring your love. Give it back to the people sitting next to you. Give it to me. I will use it well. I will. I really will. I'll give it to you. So great to just do this, right? I think it's past time to pray. I love this life. Let's have the practitioners. This community is in transformation, and it feels so good to me. And I know these people, these practitioners, a little bit. I've spent a few hours with them. 2 months ago, on my way from Ukraine, while my mom was dying, I spent most of the past 2 months with my mom and my siblings, going through a healing process that is only possible when you let yourself be the vessel for love and peace. And you give up how you think it should be. I am so deeply grateful. So let our prayer today be of the gratitude for all the things in our life that are moving us more into yes. So I want to just sing a little prayer for a moment, and then our musicians will do whatever's right to do about that. And we will, in our own inner space, give our own thanks for the things in our life that have got us to this precious moment of choice and power, because we are in the midst of a spiritual revolution, and the earth is tipping on its axis, and all is well. When I say a tender yes to everything that comes to me, my heart is open, I am free. I open to all that is, and it brings me to my knees. I surrender. I am love. And so I give thanks for every person, for everything that has created this center, that has brought the volunteers, that is in every room, all the thoughts, all the mindfulness, all the love that's written every song, that's cleaned every floor, that's prayed every prayer, and that's cried every cry. I am so grateful for the power of possibility that so clearly is right here in our hands, in our lives, and in this community. We are ready. And that is a blessing. And so my life is blessed by yours blessed by mine, and we are in this divine flow, and it is so magnificent that all there is to do is to say thank you and surrender any of the fears we have into that state of consciousness and let it be transformed so that the answers to those prayers come easily and effortlessly, and you are as inspired and as guided and provided for as I am. Guided does mean provided. And I let it be so in my everyday life as it is right here in this precious moment. All is well, and so it is. Thank you.